All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are here to hopefully provide you all with some information regarding iConnect and the exciting things that are going to be coming forward. So I just wanted to say thank you for joining us in such a short notice. We really appreciate how much you guys are excited and eager to learn about all of our new information. So just to start it off, I'm going to pass it over to Director Palmer, and she is going to give us some exciting information.
Well, first of all, thank you all very much for taking time out of your day to be with us to hear about this very, very exciting rollout that we have coming. But before we tell you any of that, let me thank you all for all the hard work. I know that change is hard, and you've been through training on this, but I don't know if you're like me. I mean, I don't even like to get the updates on my phone, because then I have to figure out how to do something new. So I know that change is hard, and it's probably some things that some of you are not looking forward to, but I really believe, we all believe, that in the long run, this is going to be just a phenomenal thing for you, for the people we serve, and for this entire agency. We've been in the dark ages for a long time without having technology. We can't project things. We can't. We really don't have a way to have direct access to the people we serve. So this is very exciting, and we're glad it's taking place. We're not going to start this until we are totally ready. And so consequently, we probably won't be rolling out for maybe another week or so, but we'll let you know as soon as we know exactly when we're going to do it. We will be giving you a heads up in enough time. But what we wanted to do today was to make sure that you understood really what have we been living with, and what are we going to be having in the future. And Sheila has done an outstanding job in putting together, and along with some other folks, a presentation for you to be able to see what we really are, we have in our future in store for us. Let me just say one other thing. You know, we've had a lot of meetings. I mean, I have been very, very involved in this project. It's not like something that, you know, I just cruise into a meeting every once in a while and get an update. I am very involved in this because I believe it is so critical for our agency. But I'm also a realist, and I know that there are going to be problems. You know, I don't want to roll this thing out until it's perfect. But the truth of the matter is, as perfect as we're going to attempt to get it, there still will be problems. When we roll out, there will be problems. And what we need from you is to get you to help us to be problem solvers. If you know of things that are not right, we're going to need to hear that from you so we can fix it. And over a period of time, it will be perfect. But as soon as it gets perfect, something else will change, and we'll have to change it again. So this is going to be an ongoing process, but this first wave is going to be difficult. And you're our partners. You know, we're rolling it out here in our offices, but you are our first partners. So you are the ones that we're looking to help us. You also are on the front line, and I want to thank you for all the unbelievable stuff you do every single day. And those of you that are in the Northwest, you know, you've been in my prayers, and I know everyone else feels the same way, that we know that you're in very difficult times right now. And we pray that things will quickly improve in those areas. But again, I want to thank all of you for everything you do every day. You're making a difference in people's lives. And if you work with us on this and we can refine it, we'll even be able to do better things as we work together. So thank you all so much for attending. And for those that are not here, maybe you can pass it on that they can watch it later so that everyone can understand exactly what we're trying to do so we can make your life easier and the people that we work with, we can make their lives better. So thank you.
Okay, Sheila, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Let me go ahead and share my desktop.
Great, thank you.
Elizabeth, I think I need you to give me permission to share my desktop.
All right, you should be good.
Thank you. And just let me know when you're able to see it. Are you able to see it now?
Yes, we can
Okay.
see it.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sheila Mott. I am the APD iConnect Organizational Change Management and Training Manager, and I do appreciate you taking your time this afternoon to join us to talk a little bit about where we are with iConnect now and where we will be later. First and foremost, I just want to acknowledge that I know that we have several folks that have called in, and so many of you probably are not able to see the presentation that I'm displaying on my monitor at this point. The handouts for this presentation were sent out earlier today. If you've not received it, the folks in your regional office have a copy of it, and as Elizabeth and the director indicated, this will also all be posted onto our website later. So if you're not able to see it, no worries, it will be available to you at a later time. But with that, let's go ahead and jump in. And I really like to start with, how did we get here? And if any of you have ever built a dream house, you know that there are lots of things that you take into consideration in that decision. You think about where is it going to be, what kinds of bells and whistles do you want it to have? How much is it going to cost? Are you going to build it yourself? Or should you hire an architect or work with an existing contractor? Lots of questions go into that decision. And then once you find the location and you start breaking ground, you think about things like, this is your dream house. And you are only going to do this one time. So you want it to be right. And you want it to last. And you really are excited about that time when you finally are able to open your doors and invite in your family and friends and show your dream house. And sometimes things just don't go according to your plan. The tile that you just can't live without in your second bathroom is on back order, and you can't get it in any sooner than 2 months from now. And as a result, because again, this is your dream house and you want it to be right, you adjust your move-in date. Well, APD iConnect is our dream house. We really are only doing this one time, and you heard the director. We want it to be right. We want it to be right when you begin using it. We want it to be something that's going to grow with us and the changing needs of the people that we serve, and we want all of our stakeholders to be able to see the benefits that this has. And as a result, we've had to adjust our move-in date a couple of times. We've had to change our implementation schedule. We trained some of you 2 months ago, and maybe you haven't even had a chance to go back into the training site and practice some more. And over the course of changing our move-in date, we've had to adjust some of the things that we are going to go live with when we do launch, and it's left some uncertainty for some folks. Questions like, so when we go live, are we going to do this in iConnect, or is this going to be in iBudget? And so what we wanted to do this afternoon is just take some time and talk about the things and really and truly what's happening in iConnect now and what's going to be happening later. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the functionalities. And since tomorrow is Halloween, we're going to use a candy theme today and just stay focused on the now and later. Lots of questions that you guys have been asking. You've been asking great questions to your regional trainers. You've been sending emails into that iConnect at APD Care's email address. So we wanted to address some of those things. First and foremost, the person-centered support plan. That's something that's coming in later. When we launch, we will not be launching with the person-centered support plan. We're going to talk about some of the activities that you'll be able to do in iConnect that will support that person-centered support plan when we do bring it online in iConnect, but it is not something that will be required of you on the day that we launch. We are anticipating that this will come sometime after November. Again, we're still doing testing. We want to make sure that we have the ability to get that printable output so that you have what you need to get signatures and to be able to provide copies to the individuals and their legal representatives. So this is an area where we're saying after November 2018. It may be a little later than that as well. So keep in mind that some of these dates are just projected targets at this point. The consumer demographics, these are the things that you're currently updating in ABC on the ACLN screens. Those are going to come online when we launch. That's going to be a now. You will stop making your updates in ABC and you'll be updating your demographics in iConnect. Legal representative information, your information that's being migrated over from the ACLN2 screen, you'll be able to update that in iConnect as well. Any additional information for the consumer circle of support, and this is one of our new features. Right now we add in legal representatives, healthcare surrogates, and individuals like that in our ACLN2 screen. But in iConnect, as you know from your training that you participated in, we have that contacts tab in the individual's record, and you'll be able to add all of the contacts and all of the people that are important to that person right there in their record, including their address, their phone numbers, email, all of that information. And when we launch, you'll be able to start doing that. Updating consumer diagnoses. The consumer's medical and mental health diagnoses, that's another feature that you'll be able to begin updating. So if the individual goes to the doctor and there is a new diagnosis that's been added, you'll be able to update that information on their diagnosis tab in their record. Checking the Medicaid eligibility status. Now, we've talked about this, and I've worked with many of you for years, and I know that this is something that you have been wanting. And unfortunately, that's a later. That is not something that is ready when we launch. It is coming and is anticipated in December or thereafter. But that is a feature that you are all going to love, where you'll be able to log right into the individual's record and check their Medicaid status. So stay tuned for that. Being able to add and list medication is a feature that will be available when we do go live. And so again, we'll have all of that information right there in the consumer's record. You and the providers will be able to update that so that anybody who's reviewing that consumer's record will be able to get the most current list of medications. Being able to add and create appointments. And again, this is a new feature that we have in iConnect. I know that you all keep your calendars. Everyone has an Outlook calendar. Some folks have Deathwater calendars. You schedule a lot of appointments, and so you may not feel like this is something that you'll want to do right away. And of course, we did train it to all support coordinators that this is an optional feature. I do want to stress to you, though, that when you start creating appointments in iConnect and as our providers come online in iConnect, you'll be able to add them into the appointments as well and invite them. So this is actually one of those now and later features. And as you invite individuals, as the providers begin phasing in, then you'll be able to add them as attendees, and those invitations will show up on their desktop. So this is a feature that I really do think that you're going to like, because it will show all of your efforts to include the circle of support when you have a meeting and need to coordinate services and supports for the individual. Creating provider selections or adding a group home when someone moves in or out of a group home, that's a feature that will be available for you when we do launch. However, this is also one of our now and later features, because the providers themselves, as you know, will not start phasing into or transitioning into iConnect until the spring of next year. And so as those providers come into iConnect, they'll be able to participate in the referral process, but until such time, we won't be able to use that referral process with the provider selection feature. The WSC case notes. Now, I do know that this is another area where there's been a lot of concern. And one of the things I do want to stress over and over, that along with the person-centered support plan, WSP case notes are not going online when we launch. The case notes will come online after January of 2019 as we begin transitioning in the iConnect authorizations. So when we do launch, you'll continue doing your case notes in whatever format you're already doing them, whether it's something that you're dictating and you have Word documents or you're handwriting them, you'll continue to do that. And I know that one of the areas of concern is, will Clarent know where to look for your documentation? And we will be sure to make sure Clarent understands what will be available when in iConnect and what they'll need to review when they come out to do their site visit and look at your hard copy records. Adding notes or uploading attachments into the consumer's record is a feature that will be available when we do launch. And again, as you know from your training, these are notes where if there's documents from a hospital visit that you want to upload, this is the feature where you will do that. This is separate and apart from your WSC progress notes. In cases when there's a change of support coordinator, we will be able to do parts of the support coordination transfer in iConnect. Other parts will come online at a later date based upon when we're bringing in the service authorizations and the planned services. So you will be able to conduct your transitional meetings between the new support coordinator and the exiting support coordinator. But things like cost plan updates and progress notes, again, that will remain in the current system until a later time. New QSI assessments. When we do launch, our assessors will begin doing their QSI assessments directly in the consumer's record in iConnect. And I think that you'll like that feature because it will all be in one place. However, I do want to stress that for any kind of QSI assessments completed before launch, you'll still be wanting to use the web application to access that information. In terms of provider documentation, that's something that will not come online until a later date. And again, that will be based upon when the providers transition into iConnect. So as early as April, some providers will be in and you'll be able to begin reviewing their provider documentation. But until next October, when we finally transition the last group of providers, you may still be getting paper documentation from other providers. Monitoring the budget and managing the cost plan. That is definitely something that is not coming online when we launch. That will be phased in when we bring the financial component online later this year. That goes along then with the authorizations. We will not begin generating authorizations until later when we bring the plan services and the plan validation process into iConnect. We are currently anticipating this later in December of this year. But again, there'll be more information coming on all of the financial components, and that includes, again, the plan services and plan validation, which we currently refer to as the cost plan, as well as creating authorizations. Before any of that happens, there'll be additional training that's provided for support coordinators, so you'll have plenty of notice in terms of when those activities will be coming online. So you, as WSC agencies or solo providers, being able to manage your own provider record in iConnect is a feature that you will have access to. We will need to provide some additional training information about that, but you will be able to access your agency record and update some of the information there. Some of the forms that will be available in iConnect, I've already mentioned that the person-centered support plan will not be a form you'll be completing in iConnect, but there are a few forms that we will be using when we do launch, and those include the HCBS waiver eligibility worksheet, central record transfer, residential referrals, and case closures. And we do have additional information that we will be sending out to all the support coordinators and posting on our website that talks a little bit more about the details in terms of when and how you'll use these forms. But I did want to make sure that we mentioned that. And then I also wanted to take a few moments and just give you a summary of where things are happening. When we do launch, is it happening in iConnect or is it happening in the current process? And so here is just a quick snapshot of the things that we've talked about. The support plan is going to stay in the paper format. Client demographic information is going to get updated in iConnect. Case notes you'll continue to do in whatever process you're currently using. Medications will be updating in iConnect. And then for the contacts, in terms of your contact as a WSC with the individual, you'll be documenting that also in your same internal process that you're using today. Cost plans and service authorizations are staying in iBudget until a later time. I also wanted to make sure that we touch base on the resources and reference material. I know that you've all been to training, but I just want to reiterate that we do have our iConnect page on our website. We have information there that's being updated all of the time. The training manual is there. We have our e-learning videos. We will be finding a place to put the video from this afternoon up on the website. So please make sure that you include this as a favorite in your browser, our iConnect page. In addition, I also wanted to mention that for our iConnect dashboard, we've added a link right on your dashboard that will take you directly to the e-learning library. So if you are working in iConnect and you have a question about how do I do a certain thing, without having to exit iConnect and look for your favorites to get to our website, you'll be able to get there directly from within iConnect. I do want to take a few minutes before I transition and talk about the training. When I was going through the functionalities that will be available when we launch, it's important to stress that updating that information will help you get ready for when we do start using that person-centered support plan. Let me go ahead and switch over to our training site and our testing site. I'm logged in, and I do tend to use the APD manual when I'm doing demonstrations because it lets me show more things. But again, right here, just want to reiterate that this will take you directly to our e-learning website, our e-learning library on our iConnect page, and then you have the links for the FAQs and other information. So again, check back here on a regular basis for any kind of updates. But in looking at the individuals and what you will be doing in iConnect, one of the things that I think will be very helpful for you as you prepare for bringing that person-centered support plan online, again, when we transition into iConnect and we launch, all of this demographic information that you currently are using in ABC, you will be able to access ABC from a read-only perspective, but in the case of Johnny Test, if he were to move, you would be updating his address right here in iConnect. Areas where we are capturing information that we don't currently capture in ABC, such as the medications tab or the contact information to add to the circle of supports for the individual. For those of you who have seen what the person-centered support plan looks like in iConnect, you know that both of these tabs, the information will come directly into the person-centered support plan. So I recommend that when we do launch, among the things that you'll be wanting to do is, one, you're going to want to come and look at all of your consumers' records. You're not going to focus on all of the tabs because, again, all of the tabs are not going live at once. They'll be here, but they may not have any information. You will want to look at the demographics tab, verify living setting, their age, all of their information that should have migrated over from ABC to make sure that it's migrated correctly. If there are changes that you need to make, again, if someone moves, you are able to then go and edit their demographics from right within their record. And so here you'll be able to add addresses, add contact information, update fields in terms of their race and those kinds of things. Double check their diagnosis. Now, mind you, as part of our own testing process, and this is an example record, so this individual doesn't have a diagnosis, but as part of our own testing process, our staff are looking at some of the records already as I speak. Even this afternoon, we were reviewing records, verifying that the data is migrating correctly. But again, we want to be sure, and you want to be sure, when you come in and you start looking at individuals' records. So check to make sure that their diagnosis came over correctly. This eligibility tab, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to love this tab when we bring it online, but this one's not going to be functioning at the time we launch. This is where you'll find their Medicaid status at a later date. Add their medications, add any contacts that are part of their circle of support that are important to them, and then you'll also want to make sure that if you've got any documents that you need to upload into the individual's record, you'll use their Notes tab to do that. Those are the areas where you're going to be spending most of your time when you first come into iConnect. And I think that that's actually going to work to our advantage as an agency in general, because it gives you a chance to build some of the data that doesn't already exist in ABC, bring some of the information that you currently keep in your phone, in the Consumer Central file, and pull it all together so that the first time you actually execute the person-centered support plan within the Forms tab for the individual, you will be able to pull all of that information together and you won't have to type it every single time. So look at it in terms of when we launch, you're going to do some pre-support planning activities in the consumer's record while validating some of their data. And then, as I indicated earlier, at a later date, we're going to do what you've heard of as phase 2 of training. During phase 2 of training, we will then look at our cost planning activities, what we currently do in iBudget, and how we'll be doing that in iConnect. I know that during your phase 1 of training, you all got an overview of what plan services and plan validation looks like, but we will actually be giving you some live training in terms of looking at plan services, creating plan services, how to handle the plan validation process, issuing authorizations, and then importantly, we want to be sure everybody's going to get paid. We will also be including that WSC claim submission process for when we start doing claims directly from iConnect. That training, I don't anticipate at this time that the training will be more than a couple of days. It won't be a week-long training like it was the first time. And we are looking at the possibility of doing it via WebEx. So stay tuned on that. The dates have not yet been set because we are still doing some of the testing with the functionalities that go along with the budget and the plan services. As soon as that testing is finalized and we're able to look at our dates, then we'll get those dates scheduled. But it's much more important that at this point we focus on what's needed for our first launch, which, as the director said, will be within the next few weeks. We are still testing. We want to make sure that we get it right. So stay tuned for that in terms of when is the actual move-in date for our dream house, our APD iConnect dream house. And that will leave us open to take any questions. And I know that we need to do that via the chat. So Elizabeth, I'm going to circle back to you to assist with that.
Okay, thanks, Sheila. When you all are submitting your questions, you can either submit them to all posts, and that will ensure that both Sheila and I can read your questions. I believe you can also submit it to all participants, which would then everyone who is called in with their computer can also see your question. So give that a try, and we will monitor the chat box and read out the questions for the people who are on the phone so that they can also hear the answers. So there was a question that was submitted during the presentation, and I just wanted to go over that with everyone. The question was about which support plan to use, either the older support plan or the new person-centered support plan. And I just wanted to reiterate that all the support coordinators needed to complete their new person-centered support plan training by September and follow the implementation process that was outlined in Advisory 2018-013. 17. And with that, we did get some concerns from support coordinators about the form, and so we are working on updating that, and we will post the newest version to that form later this week. But moving forward, you will need to use the new person-centered support plan as the support plan comes due for your client. So one of our questions, Sheila, you should be able to answer this one better than me. They would like to know, have we figured out a way to upload the support plan?
I'm sorry, Elizabeth, can you repeat that? I had a little bit of feedback on that.
Sure. Have we figured out a way to upload the support plan?
In terms of the existing support plan when we do launch, and I may actually defer to Lorena and Cheryl and Kelly on this, my understanding was that we were not going to require folks to upload existing documents into iConnect. Is that correct, Lorena?
That's correct. WSEs don't have to upload their support plan into iConnect. When the support plan functionality becomes available, they will enter the support plan directly into iConnect. Until that time, WSE should be using the paper version of the support plan that was sent out in May 2018.
Thank you, Lorena.
Another question, Sheila, is when will the support coordinators get their login information?
I believe that within the next week or so, folks should be receiving an email that will give them the instructions of what it is they need to do to be able to log in.
Yeah, it depends on the go live date. We are going to determine based on the go live date, probably 2 or 3 days before that. We will let you know. So it's close to the go live date.
And I think the reason, just as a point of clarification for everyone, the reason that it will be so close to the date that we launch is because it will take you directly into the live production site. So we can't send it to you any earlier with the site not being available. Correct, Sriram?
Yeah, that is correct.
So, Sheila, another question that kind of goes along with that is, will iBudget completely go away at some point, or will it remain for limited uses after iConnect is fully in place?
That's the goal, yes, iBudget is going to go away at some point after iConnect system is fully in place. But again, for the data retention purposes, we will keep the system open up to 7 years for limited use. So based on that policy. We have there.
Which one?
That one, and then.
When to add notes and upload attachments, can you explain what documents that might be? Would WSPs upload quarterlies, annuals, anything from providers, or will that be done by the providers when they have access?
Well, that's an excellent question, and I think one of the things that all of us are going to want to do, and when I say all of us, I do mean here at APD, we'll probably need to provide you with a list of what documents we would want you to attach. Once the providers come online, they'll be doing their documentation directly in the consumer's record. And so I think one of the things that we've not yet totally ironed out is what is it that we want you as support coordinators to do regarding provider documentation prior to those providers coming in. That's one of the topics that we are still talking through in terms of what the process will be for that. Other examples of the types of documents that you might attach and upload to a note, again, if there is an individual that went to the hospital or had a new prescription and you have a copy of that prescription, those are the types of things that you can attach to a note. there are, as you know, many different types of notes and subtypes of notes. One of the tools that we're going to be posting for you all on our website is a quick reference guide for note types. It kind of, at a glance, lets you know which note type to use, when to use it, and what status to save it in.
In regards to the internet options setting, both
Will this request go live?
No.
Oh, will its request go live right away?
No, that's not going in the first, yeah. If requests are not going in the first rollout, so that will be later.
And that will be included when we do the phase 2 training regarding the financial items and plan services.
Okay, so in regards to the internet options setting, both iBudget and iConnect need different filters and websites in order to function. If some of the features in iConnect will not go live, how are we going to be able to use iConnect and iBudget at the same time?
Yes, you are going to be able to use iBudget and iConnect at the same time. We are going to send instructions how to set those filters. So yes, there is the need to use both the systems at some time. Yeah.
So when are you going to send that information to?
We will be sending, very soon, because before they receive the login credentials.
He said you'll be getting that information before you get the login information.
Okay, so as per clearance tools, the support plan effective January 2019 should be done on the person-centered support plan format. Is this correct? We will check with Ed and Clarence and make sure that he has a transition plan in place so we know which support plans will switch at which time.
These are very good questions.
If there is a new version of the person-centered support plan coming out this week, why would we start using this form until the corrected version is released?
That's a great question. We are not releasing a new version of the support plan this week. We released the newest version in May. Some WSPs shared some computer problems that they're having with the form, doing some things like spell check and the formatting. So we're trying to make some improvements to how the WSPs use the form and make it easier for them. And we will release a version this week. It's the same content, should look exactly the same. We're just hoping it will be easier for WSPs to use.
Will agency heads have access to their staff caseload so that we can properly supervise our employees?
The answer to that is yes, and for the folks that are able to see, actually, Elizabeth, I'm going to share again just to demonstrate because I know that this is something that weighs on folks' minds. Let's go back over here to the dashboard. And again, this is a test site, so when you go into the training site, you may not see this exactly this way, but on the dashboard, under tasks, in My Management, there is a current active cases link. And just to demonstrate this, I went ahead and I set up a relationship between Cheryl Smith and myself, where I'm listed as her supervisor. So part of that will be making sure that you get everybody set up in terms of who supervises whom. When I click on the current active cases, then what I see are all of the cases associated with me, as well as cases associated with Cheryl. Anytime you see a plus sign anywhere in iConnect, you can push that and it will tell you more information. So for our support coordinators, anybody who is a supervisor, you should be able to see all of the support coordinators that they supervise and all of the consumers that are assigned to them in iConnect.
What screens in ABC will we still have to update?
Okay, initially, in the first rollout, ACLM 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, those 5 screens, will be locked, from the day of go live 1. So the other screens, as needed, it will still be available for your edit. But eventually, even some of those screens also will be locked as soon as we are able to backfill that information from iConnect to ABC. So initially, the first 5 screens in the client demographics information will be locked.
So ABC will still be used?
Yeah, ABC will still be used. The question is, so ABC will still be used. Yeah, ABC system will still be up and running with the exception of, locking some of the screens until, we roll out all the functionality that includes case request, room and board, all of that functionality into iConnect. Then that's the point, we will be planning to set that.
Will we be able to have immediate?
I would like to add some more information for ABC. When we determine the go live date, a few days, before the first go live date, we will need to bring down ABC system at least for 4 or 5 days to extract the data out of ABC and migrate into the new system. So this is a very critical task, to be executed just before the go live. So we can do it, much before that time. So we, please expect, the ABC system downtime notification a few days before the iConnect go live.
And so, Shriram, just to tack onto that, then we would be recommending that if anybody has updates that they know they need to be making to ABC, to please do that as soon as possible, because again, it will be a few days before the launch date, and we want to make sure that you have time to update that information. Because then after we do launch, correct me if I'm wrong, Shriram, we will not then be doing any more updates in ABC.
Yes. Mainly to begin with the first 5 screens.
The next question is, will we be able to have a third party within an agency to have access so that they can assist with some of the administrative activities such as updating demographic information? This is something I think we need to discuss because I'm not sure whether third parties are allowed to fill. So
with the initial rollout, they do not have access to the system. Is that correct, Shriram?
Yeah, we will need to look into that.
So the answer is no right now, but this is something we need to discuss. I know this has been an issue for some agencies because they want to hire people to keep things updated and so on, but this is something that we have to discuss because it has HIPAA ramifications.
So, Shriram, there's another question. They would like to know if they're still going to need a VPN to connect with the cost plan in iConnect.
No? Okay. No, iConnect is an internet-facing website, so you don't need VPN to access iConnect system. So but you will still need, the VPN, for accessing iBudget system.
Until all of that is
Yeah.
rolled in there. Once all that's rolled in there, then you would not need the VPN.
That's correct.
If agencies back each other up, or when there is more than one supervisor, how do we have full access to the caseload? It sounds like only one person can be identified as having full access to all clients in a given agency.
The authorizations will go to the agencies, and if you're associated with an agency record, in other words, listed as a worker with that agency, you should be able to have access and back each other up. In terms of support coordinators agencies who back each other up, an example of maybe solo providers, we do have a process that's worked out for you to be able to do a provider selection with your backup. Right now in iBudget, I know that you guys share records and do it that way. We don't have the ability to do the sharing, but we did work out a process where you'll use the provider selection and open a selection for your backup WSC. That will give them access to be able to take care of the individual's immediate health and safety needs while you're unavailable.
Will billing agents be able to continue to provide service to invoice monthly if a provider chooses?
Yes, we do have the ability to add in billing agents for various different support coordination and provider agencies. There is a specific role for them, and when we bring the providers online and start working with them in terms of claims and submission, they'll get their training on that. They will access iConnect through the claims chapter, not the consumers chapter or the providers chapter. So their view is a little bit different of what they will get to see. But that is a functionality that will still be available to folks.
Will the process for incident reports remain the same for now?
Yes, they are not changing for now. Incidents will not come online within iConnect until the spring of 2019 at the earliest.
Will APD be having agency trainers to train new support coordinators coming into the agency?
That's an excellent question, and I know that it's one that's at the top of everyone's mind. One of the things that we have done, as you know, we've worked really hard to make sure that all of our current support coordinators were able to have access to training prior to our launch date. In terms of the long-range plan, we are looking at various different options, and we haven't yet landed in terms of, is it an ongoing training that will be available, or will we be incorporating it into the region-specific training? So stay tuned for that. There's more information to come.
There is no place on the new support plan to enter SSI, SSDI, or health insurance information. Do we still need to keep track of this info, and if so, how?
So once the support plan goes live in iConnect, some of that information is captured in the demographic, but until that time, until there's tracking available, go ahead and keep tracking it on your information sheet if it's not captured in the demographics that you see.
So to follow up on that, do we need to continue using the information sheet from the previous support plan form?
It's not a required part of the support plan, but you need it to maintain some of the third-party information that's not on the form. That is fine.
I noticed in my WSC profile I created in iBudget, her instructions is no longer there.
Okay, this is regards to a new form that we created just for the purpose of collecting the WSC information. We already disabled that form because, this was intended only for the limited time. for helping us, to create the login credentials for WSP. So if we're talking about that form, that's the purpose of that form.
In iConnect, will we be able to have more than one supervisor for each WSC? For example, an agency can have up to 3 supervisors for all WSCs. In this case, can 3 supervisors have access to the entirety of the agency's caseload?
Yes, I believe that you will be able to set up as many supervisors as you need to for each WSC. Again, this will be something that we'll be providing additional training for after we launch, and that will be how to maintain your agency's record, because that will all happen within your agency's provider record as opposed to within the consumer's record.
With the ability to agencies manage company provider records, will this satisfy and replace the criteria of employee contractor roster with ACA that Clarence reviewed?
Say it again. Read it again.
With the ability for agencies to manage company provider records, will this satisfy and replace the criteria of employee contractor roster with ACA that Clarence reviewed?
No, they still need to maintain the roster within the background screening clearinghouse.
He was speaking in the wrong direction.
The person who seconded the question.
Why don't you say that again?
They will still need to maintain their roster within the background screening clearinghouse.
If you guys want to send any more questions, we have plenty of time. If I accidentally missed your question, just send it again, and I'll read it out loud.
And Elizabeth, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I have a question that got sent to me directly, so I'll go ahead and read it and then respond to it. The question is, how will this impact client reviews? Will they have full access to all records when iConnect is fully operational? And the answer to that question is yes. Clarent will have full access to all of the consumer records. What we will be doing, and when I say we as APD, what we'll be doing is when we provide training to Clarent in terms of how where and how in iConnect they will find information, we will also then be stressing to them where the cutoff date is in terms of look to the paper hard file for this type of information up until X date, for example, and the rest of it you'll find in iConnect. So they will be looking for a period of time. They'll be looking in both your hard copy files as well as your iConnect files when they do their reviews.
Do we still prepare the information sheets? They have valuable information that is easy to locate.
The information sheets are optional. If the WSP wants to continue using them, we encourage them to do so.
All right, there don't seem to be any more questions. You can always email them to the APD iConnect email. And we really appreciate your participation on this, and I hope it was good information for you. And we will talk to you all later. Thank you.